Things First is sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Things First, and welcome to Kevin Wiles, our newest team member. We're running out of desks for this guy.
He's just been hanging around the office for a month. I didn't know what was going on.
All right, Raz, the new guy.
Hey, Kevin.
This is Kevin.
We talked at 4:30, Nick.
Call him Wiles.
Nice to meet you. I'm just doing this so everyone can see your tiny hands.
I'm
Billy
not.
looks smaller now. Good to see you.
So I do a high five. I'm not going to do it because it's there. Okay. We won't have to do that again. Just a day one kind of thing. We're glad you're here. We got a lot to get to today. Big show for Kevin's big debut. Small ball might be the big answer for the Rockets. Jason Tatum might have finally convinced Nick he is indeed a superstar. But we got to start this morning with some tough news for the Philadelphia 76ers and some problems with the process. Philly already without one of their two stars in Ben Simmons, now possibly without two of their two stars. Joel Embiid played just 8 minutes last night before suffering a sprained shoulder. He will have an MRI today. Head coach Brett Brown unsure if his star center will have to miss time. Nick, how disappointing is this for the Sixers?
Oh, it's massively disappointing for the Sixers. It's disappointing for me personally. With my friends at Fox Bet yesterday, I gave America I can't lose 3-team parlay. Was going to pay 8 to 1. Dallas minus 5.5 locked in. Clippers minus 7.5 easy money. Philly minus 7.5 dead in the water 4 minutes into the game because Joel Embiid gets hurt. So selfishly,
bottom line, you lost money.
Because Joel Embiid got hurt. But more importantly for them, listen, Antoine, this was 20 games ago. I felt like I knew this was a lost season for Philly because this was a finals run or bust, not championship or bust. But if they make the finals this year, that was going to be the barometer of success. And we knew a month and a half ago that wasn't going to happen. But the Ben Simmons injury opened up a alternate path to this being somewhat successful in as much as you could get a real sample size of what would this team look like if we not blew it up, but traded away one of our major pieces this summer, that piece being Ben. Now, unless Joel is back way sooner than at least I expect, you're not even going to get that almost consolation prize on the season. So if you're a Sixer fan this morning, it's just a stomach punch after a stomach punch on what has been a bad season already.
And it makes it really difficult, too, because if he misses a significant amount of time, you're going to probably fall in the standings. You're probably going to drop. You can almost drop to 8, depending on if you can win some games. They haven't been playing great over the last 10 games anyway, only 5-5. So now you add both, get your superstars out. It becomes very difficult to win games with every team pushing for the playoffs. So you could drop down and end up playing a really, really tough opponent, maybe Toronto in the first round, the Celtics in the first round. So it becomes very hard and the season becomes a disaster. If I'm Philly right now, you got to just hold your horse. You got to understand the injuries happen. They're a part of the game. You don't want to overreact. You need to get these guys healthy. You don't want to blow this thing up because of injury. So Elton Brand has a tough decision to make. Obviously, you got to make sure both of these guys come back healthy. You're talking about 2 major injuries in 2 spots that can linger on when you think about, Ben Simmons' back and then now his shoulder. So you got to be cautious of 2 superstars because you don't want to blow it up and put your whole franchise at jeopardy, and you work so hard to become a good playoff team, a championship team.
Well, let's not overblow this. What's the upcoming schedule for the Sixers right now? It's not hard.
They've got a soft schedule aside from the 2 games against the LA teams, like 6 of their next 7 against some of the worst teams in basketball. But the Cavs are one of the worst teams in basketball, and without Embiid and Simmons, you lose to them. Like that, you get blown out by them.
And we should mention, there's no significant time yet that we've talked about that he's going to miss. He's going to have an MRI today. So this is all just a big maybe right now, but it's still a tough blow for the Sixers.
So when we were talking about the Sixers, we talked about the Sixers in rehearsal. We did some rehearsals. We talked about the Sixers. And I was like, who do the Sixers remind me of? And they kind of remind me of the We Believe Warriors. For this reason, We Believe Warriors, special group of guys that come together, that gel perfectly, that represent a city. So the Sixers remind me of the We Believe Warriors because they seem like the exact opposite.
I
was wondering where you're going.
The new guy doesn't know.
No, but they seem like the exact opposite team. So I guess the question to you, Antoine, is, from the outside, fans, analysts, sports geniuses, as Nick likes to be referred to as.
Thank you.
We look at the numbers and we try to figure it out, but there's a certain je ne sais quoi to a team's chemistry? Like, how does that captured in what happens now? Does that make sense?
Well, you got to look at the roster, and obviously now Tobias Harris, a guy you pay big money to. You expect him to step up tremendously. Al Horford has to be a guy you lean on now. They got scoring. I don't know if these guys can get you 25, 30 a night, but they've had guys on their roster still left that have had big nights. Alec Burke has had big nights in this league. Glenn Robinson III has had big nights. Shake Milton.
Josh Richardson won them a big game.
So they got guys. They could compete. I think, obviously last night, when you see them lose to the Cavs, so you think it can go really downhill. But now you lean on your coaching. Now this is where Brent Brown earns his money.
Yeah, well,
figuring out creative ways to make this lineup work and try to hold the fort down if they miss a significant amount of time.
One last point before we move on, which is on this show at least, we have talked a lot about if they have to trade one of these guys. Everyone who's been on this show has said you'd trade Simmons, you'd trade Simmons. Ben Simmons fans in Philly, even though Ben just got injured, are saying this is why Ben's the guy you keep and Joel's the guy you move. Prior to Ben's back injury, he had played 81 and 79 games in his 2 seasons as a pro. He'd been incredibly durable. Joel Embiid's been anything but durable as a pro, and now he is injured again, which is another fly in the ointment for Philly in what they do moving forward, Jenna.
All right, well, you wonder if this might possibly, if these two are out now, be the beginning of the end of the process. All right, the other big game last night came from the smallest team in the league. The Rockets just demolished the Grizzlies 140 to 112. How about Russ? He went off 33 points. Harden had 30. That's 5 straight wins for the Houston Rockets. Nick, I thought small ball wasn't supposed to work, they said, right? That's what they told us.
The
You're not going to be able
ball,
to compete.
And at some point, people are going to stop doubting my pal Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey said we're going to shoot 1,000 threes. People said you can't win that way. Now the whole league shoots 1,000 threes. The only team to even get to a Game 6, much less a Game 7, against a healthy Kevin Durant Warriors team was these Houston Rockets, who were up 3-2, were up 15 points in Game 6 and up 15 points in Game 7 without their second-best player, Chris Paul, and now...
They weren't these Houston Rockets, Nick. That's not fair.
Okay, well...
It's a totally different team. Russell Westbrook wasn't on the team.
Agreed. The point being, he has made moves that people, when he makes them...
I like Daryl.
People question him, and when the Clint Capella trade happened, people said, okay, this is the last gasp of the Rockets trying to contend, and all they've done since then, since Clint Capella last played a game, they've gone 9-2. One of those losses was the Bogdanovich 3 in the final second. The other loss, Russ didn't play. And most importantly, what trading away Capella has done, Capella, who, by the way, still isn't playing for his new team because he's injured, has unlocked the best version of Russell Westbrook that we've seen in quite some time. He's not shooting threes. He had another monster game last night. He has brought some energy and some toughness to this team, and he's gotten back to playing Russell Westbrook basketball, and that doesn't happen if he has a big out there. That doesn't happen if Clint Capella's still out there.
Right,
and
So say it.
Yeah.
So say it.
Say what?
Can they make the NBA Finals?
Oh, listen, right now they're the 3rd best team in the NBA. Lakers, Bucks, and the Rockets.
Okay, so can they make the NBA Finals?
They have the best chance of any team in the West to upset the Lakers.
Do you think? But
no, I think the Lakers. No, they can. I don't think they will. They're not my pick to make the finals.
Everybody can.
Well, they have the best chance of anyone not named the Lakers or the Bucks in making the finals.
Nick, I like Daryl. I think he's done a terrific job of putting together great regular season teams. They're great. The problem is they shoot 53s last night. They only had 93 shots. You're not going to win an NBA title like that. The reason why you're not going to win an NBA title like that, the Phoenix Suns tried it. They couldn't do it. Then you talk, Golden State did it, but Golden State did it with guys who are 50, 40, 90 guys. You don't have anybody on the Rockets that's 50, 40, 90 guys. You don't have knockdown three-point shooters. You got guys that are very capable and are good shooters that make threes, but they're not going to be able to win come playoff time. Too many bad possessions, too many empty trips going down. They take a lot of bad shots. That style of play works in the regular season, of course.
But that's what Russ is there for now. Now you have a guy that can get to the rim. Now you have a guy that will shoot the mid-range.
Do you think come playoff time, you think that the teams are going to actually play Russ with a center? It would not happen.
Well, then they got to take the center off the court, and now you're playing to the Rockets' hands.
Okay, but I would rather take my chance there. They're not going to play him with a center. Don't get me wrong. This style opened up where Russ can be very effective. He's the one guy who's benefited the most from this trade.
Yep.
James Harden is going to be James Harden. We know that. But can the other guys benefit from him? I like the pieces they added. I told you yesterday the fact that they're getting guys that can play small ball, because you got to be able to.
Carroll, those guys.
They were great defensively last night. Active hands, really take. But they're going to still get out rebounded. It's going to be empty possessions with some of the shots they took. They took 53s last night. That was more than twos. It's tough to win that way if you don't have knockdown shooters, and they don't have necessarily the best knockdown shooters like Golden State did.
So I have a question, Antoine. When you were playing, I remember that Scottie Pippen said this was like the big flaw about the Rockets, that they look great on regular season, but over a 7-game series, once I figure you out, and there's a certain newness to this that people haven't figured out. And once it's like, oh, I figured it out. You guys shoot a whole lot of threes. We can defend that, and that's why they don't win playoffs. So, like, is that a factor that, like, once you play a team 7 times, you can figure them out?
Yeah, without question, in the series, you can. The thing was great about having Russ and James Harden, they can win a playoff game on their own. They can have big nights. That's the advantage they have over a lot of teams. That's why Nick probably has them the 3rd best team in the league. I don't think they're better than the Clippers, but they're the top 4 teams in the league. I think they're 4. I think the Clippers are better than them. But I just think with the way that those two guys, the game is constructed right now, they take a lot of bad shots. And I just think in playoffs, it becomes a possession game, and I don't trust that Harden is going to make the right decision late in the game, whether it's to shoot a 3 or to get to the basket. That's what it comes down to. Russ getting to the basket or shooting the pull-up jump shot. Those are the type of things you got to worry about with these guys to help them get over the hump. They're going to be great during the regular season, and they've shown that. And their style of play is very exciting. This must-see basketball. I enjoy watching them play. Don't get me wrong. I just shoot threes all the time. I watch them play, but I just think about this is not the fact that I don't watch.
They got to find another way.
They got to find another way in the playoffs.
In a playoff
they were the best.
You
team
play the Lakers.
They were the best team in the NBA and the best team in the playoffs until Chris Paul got hurt playing this exact style. You can say it's a different team, but the idea that it can't win in the playoffs, they're up 3-2 on the Warriors until Chris Paul tweaked his hamstring. They've retooled. They're putting themselves in position again. I think this narrative that it doesn't work in the playoffs, it worked better than anyone against the Warriors.